What's going on? I am back. We're actually doing something a little bit different. As you can see in the video, we're going to be doing some Gibblet clips, kind of like a life in the day of me taking care of Gibblet, obviously in a shortened version or whatever. Uh, so instead of doing the whole walk in the park and doing the recording at the same time, I did do that. The problem was when I alt tabbed out of the recording to like look at the Twitter questions, the recording stopped. So I was just literally talking to myself for 10 minutes. So that was fun. So instead, I will do a little bit of a voiceover here while you see some Gibblet stuff from time to time. The park section, some shaky cam. I'm going to try and edit that. But if not, just be aware that it's a little bit shaky. But let's get into the questions. First one coming in from Soft Goat. How do I keep my food from freezing in the back of my refrigerator? So this got 13 likes, so I assume this is some type of meme or something that I have not heard of. But Soft Goat, just don't have your fridge that high. Just don't do it. Food doesn't freeze in the back of my fridge. I don't know what you're doing. I can't help you. Anyway, we're gonna continue. Mr. Sirion, where do you believe OCE will place at the LAN? So I'm expecting 2 teams to go to the LAN. I don't expect them to send 4 because of just the depth of talent there. I don't expect them to do that well, but they do have 4 months to practice up and get ready for like a LAN type environment. Maybe they'll get some practice in versus NA teams, maybe on like NA West or something like that. So you never know, because who knows if it's best of 5 or whatever. But you would assume best of 5. We've seen a lot of surprises that land. The problem is that none of those teams have experience no matter what. And probably most of the other teams coming in from NA or EU will have some experience. So it'll be tough to take some games off them. But like, I'll be pulling for them because it's always fun to root for the underdog teams. And we want to see other regions get involved, hopefully sooner rather than later. And this is the first step. So hopefully we can see some exciting games there. Next up from Blind Man Gamer. Are there any modes you want to see added or changed, like any power-ups for Rumble? So I think they probably won't add too many more power-ups for Rumble. I think it's still a decently popular playlist, but it's definitely not going to be their focus. They might add something here or there, like if someone had an idea and wanted to like fool around with it. Because I think the power-ups in general for Rumble were just like someone during some free time was like, hey, I want to try this out, and people loved it, so they added it to the game. So who knows, maybe we'll see more power-ups. I would love to see like a weekly playlist change basically, and have like new fun ideas. Like one idea that I really like is if kind of like a breakout style of maybe you have like 6 cubes on the goals, like basically a wall to try and break through, and if you hit like a cube 3 times, like maybe like it's invulnerable for like 5 seconds after it's hit, so you can't just mash on it, and then it breaks like that part of the wall, and then if you score, then you just win the game. So it's only up to 1 goal, and I think that would be kind of neat. Of course, like there'd be some balancing issues where like is the whole wall invulnerable for 5 seconds and stuff like that, but I think like things like that could be really fun to try and do over like a week or even like a month. Like a month might be too long, but like a week or 2 weeks, have that playlist up, then rotate it out, like throw back in Rumble. There's always going to be people complaining, but hopefully like communities can build around some of these game modes, and then you can go into private games and play them with other people in those communities. Like have a Discord or something for each of the game modes, and so if you really liked one that came out, then you could just find games that way. Next question from Albino Dino. Are tricks really just for kids? So I have a theory here. So when I was a kid, they were fruit shapes, and I liked them when they were fruit shapes. But I heard even before that they were just balls, and then they went back to just the balls pretty recently, like within 5 years or so. So I'm thinking every generation they change the shape, and then the other group kind of is like, like, I don't really care for them as much anymore because they changed what I loved about them, and then they lose those people. So those kids that grow up, then it changes back to like shapes. Like now it's like round balls. So Gibblet will love them as round balls. Then he's gonna be like, why are these shapes? This is crap, and he's not gonna eat it anymore. And then kids will love it again, while adults will not really like it anymore. So I think that is the theory. Now, They don't say tricks really just for kids. Like, I think they say tricks are for kids. Like, they say silly rabbit tricks are for kids. They don't say it's only for kids. I think, it's pretty smart to not let animals eat cereal. I would say that's probably a good idea, but they don't say anything about adults. So I think adults can still eat them, but I think generally tricks are for kids, and they want to keep changing it up. So, like, kids don't grow up and continue to love tricks as much. They change the shape on you, and then you wind up hating it because everyone hates change. That's a much longer answer than you were expecting. That's probably the longest answer I've had so far, but that's what we're doing here. Next up, karma. Most unexpected and best thing about being a father. Most unexpected was probably that Gibblet sleeps really well at night. Even from the first week he was born, he's been sleeping extremely well at night, sleeping about 10 hours a night. That was very unexpected because most people say they wake up all the time and they want to eat and all that. But even when he was really, really young, he was sleeping a pretty good amount at night. And that was a huge surprise to me and my wife. And best thing about being a father, just like being with him every day. Like, I actually have the luxury of I stay home with him, and it's absolutely a blast. There are times where it can be frustrating, like when he's having a bad day or something like that. But for the most part, just hanging out with him, playing with him, like trying to make him laugh is the greatest thing ever. When you can start making him crack up, it's pretty awesome. So that's probably the best thing, is trying to make them laugh and then actually succeed. And it always changes. Like, every week it's like some new thing I have to do to make him crack up. Like, lately it's been robot noises into his belly, but sometimes that's not working anymore, so I got to think of other things to do. I do this elephant noise that makes him smile. Doesn't always make him laugh, but yeah, so stuff like that. Just trying to come up with ideas to make him crack up. Skullpool asks, can adults see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Adults have bad memories, so they were kids once, surprisingly they were. So I think they could if they could remember anything. The problem is when you're an adult, then you start having to deal with life, and life fucking sucks. So there's a lot more to worry about, so you kind of forget why you once loved the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You can still like the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but as an adult, there's just too much on your plate, or too much on your bowl. You get it? To love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch anymore. So maybe that's it. Just life gets in the way, and you just can't love as much as you once did. Sad, but true. Ace Graham asks, favorite kind of coffee? I actually don't drink coffee. I had a half a cup of coffee one time before RLCS because I was extremely tired. And I just added, I can't remember what I added, sugar or something. I don't even know. But I generally hate coffee. I don't drink it. I had a caramel frappe once too. I think that's what it's called, from McDonald's or something like that. Again, it was right before RLCS. And I was like, I kind of need to get my energy up. That was okay because it had so much other shit in it that you can't really taste it. But for the most part, not a fan of coffee. Morale Nebula, did you ever think you would be in the esports scene? Absolutely not. Even when Rocket League was slowly getting bigger, during those first few months, I was like, guys, let's calm it down. I was always more of a pessimist of let's not get ahead of ourselves about how big this could get. One reason why I like doing that is because then I can be extremely surprised when it does get big. But even at the start, I was trying to build out my portfolio for Rocket League basically by trying to coach challengers and prospects and stuff like that, or just trying to do replay analysis. So I was trying to do stuff like that because I knew that if it did get big, there was no way that I was going to have enough time to be a professional player. And right now, we've seen a lot with the pros. They've actually been complaining a bunch about there might not be enough money in the pro scene because right now, we basically have to play so much to stay at the top that you can't get a full-time job. And it's well, that's just priorities at that point. It comes down to if you need a full-time job, then you do a full-time job and you try and do it on the side and you see how long that can last. But not every player can just do this full-time, and that's just the way it is. And I was not going to have a chance to do it full-time at all once we knew that we were having a baby. And even before that, it was not really feasible. So I knew once the big money came in that I would be like trying to find a different role. And I told Crow and said at the RLC Pro League, I was like, a couple weeks before the playoffs, I was like, yeah, like this is gonna be my last hurrah, and we're just gonna have some fun with it because I'm having a kid and all that, yada yada. So, but I never thought that I would be like an analyst or anything like that. We'll get more into that in a bit because I think there's another question about it. But yeah, I never ever thought that I would have something like this. Like Apollo asks, how can I get faster? Also, is it fun to have a kid? Yes, no. And what's fun, not fun about it? So I've talked about this pretty much at the start. Like, it's definitely fun, obviously. It's awesome having a kid. It changes your whole perspective on life. And it's fun most of the time. You know, like when he has his fussy days, it's a little rough, but for the most part, it's a blast. And it helps that he's really, really cute. That helps a lot. And then how can I get faster? Generally, just try and play really fast. Like maybe don't do it in ranked at first, but like go into unranked, have a little bit more fun with it, and just like kind of ball chase and just try and keep up with the speed of the game or something like that. But as long as you're doing it unranked, like try and use some elements of that and bring it back into ranked and play a little bit more of a positional game. But when you're trying to just play faster, it might not be a bad idea to do a little bit more ball chasing or be pushed up a little bit further than you normally would so you can try and get those quick reaction times and get the shot off. It's not the end of the world if you don't, because it's unranked. So, Desert Dwarf, are there any controllers that will fit in Gibblet's hands? He really needs more practice. He has been grabbing stuff lately. He does have a plush controller that I actually haven't used a lot with him because it's down here in the basement and we haven't been down here a lot, but we'll get there in due time. He will get his practice. You know, he's only challenger right now, but we'll have to get that to Rising Star before he's won, obviously. So we'll work on it. Nick asks, do you ever feel awkward being one of the few adults at LAN, or is the age gap not something that becomes a problem? I haven't really noticed the age gap, really. We're all sharing the same common love basically with Rocket League, and like I haven't really noticed the age gap. It doesn't bother me all that much. I mean, like sometimes, like I think on Twitter that happens more where it's like, I probably wouldn't have gone that way, like some of the guys like with how they talk and all that stuff on Twitter, but it's not the end of the world. And I haven't really noticed it too much at the LAN. And also like all the other casters, like they're not as old as me, but they're still in their 20s, and I'm like, it's not a huge age gap, so it doesn't really bother me. What did bother me was when I used to play SARP and I used to run tournaments there. I was like 18 running tournaments, and I was playing with like a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds usually. So that was probably worse than what it is now. It seems like for the most part, the ages of a lot of these players are in that 17 to 21 range that I talk to at least. So it works out. And plus it helps that the RSS, like you have to be at least 15. So like in a way that helps to, so you don't have to worry about like 12-year-olds or whatever. But like I don't mind that anyway, because when I saw the one and only Scrub Killer, that was a lot of fun hanging out with him and just seeing how happy he was all the time about like everything. So I don't mind it. How do I get good at Hot Wheels volleyball? I don't know. I don't know what Hot Wheels volleyball is, so I can't help you there. Maybe you just throw Hot Wheels cars at a volleyball and try and keep it up, or maybe a beach ball. Throw harder, I guess. That was from Creed. Matt Rogers asks, how does your sleep schedule compare before and after Gibblet's arrival? I'm asking my wife. I'm asking as my wife is due in about 4 weeks. Well, congrats, Matt. My sleep schedule, again, is actually pretty decent. Gibblet has been sleeping extremely well. Usually, we put him down 10, 10:30. Sometimes he gets a little fussy around that time, and 11:30. By then, he's out for basically the night, and then he'll wake up around 8. Sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes a little bit later, like 7 to 9 range. And so I get a decent amount of sleep as long as I can fall asleep on my own. So my sleep schedule hasn't been that bad. It's just you have to wake up a little bit early in the morning. So I haven't been playing games that late at night for a while. But that's okay. The Kylo asks, will you ever be in a video with Callum the Shogun? Well, I purposely avoid him at all costs, so probably not. Maybe one day. Like, the problem is I can't really schedule much besides outside, like, RLCS stuff because it's hard because I'm watching the baby all day. And then my wife comes home and she wants some time, obviously, because she was just working all day. So it's hard to schedule anything, but maybe. We'll see. If I was not in the Rocket League scene, what would I be doing? Probably right now, I would probably just be taking care of Gibblet. I had an accounting job, but honestly, I probably would have stopped that to take care of Gibblet because my wife makes more money anyway. And then, like, the whole putting him in daycare, like, at that young of an age would not have really worked. With what I was making, it probably wouldn't have been worth it in the grand scheme of things. So I probably would have been home anyway. It just works out that there's a bonus of RLCS and a bonus of, like, YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. So that's really helpful. Is mayonnaise an instrument from bruh? Again, this is probably something that I've never heard of or whatever, but like, anything can be an instrument. As long as it makes some type of noise, you can make an instrument. I don't want to know the noises that you're making with mayo or how you're making those noises, but go for it. Have your fun. Let's see if there's any more. What's my favorite topper besides the hard hat? From Evan. I don't really care that much about toppers all that much. I use the wizard hat just because that's like a running joke through the RLCS. So I use that usually on blue team now, and on the orange team I use the hard hat because they kind of match better with the cars. So I guess I would say wizard hat. How do you think NA can close the gap between them and EU? There's a lot. Like, I don't think the gap is amazingly huge because, like, Orbit at the last LAN were 1 second away, basically, from taking down Mocket, and who knows how far they could have gone. And also, flip side, like, after their scrims, I was talking to them, and they were like, yeah, we're most worried about Orbit right now, because they were doing pretty well in scrims. Like, flip side, I think we're still beating them generally, but it was the team that was giving them the most trouble. So I think there is still hope for NA. Plus, I think it's good that they did lose how they lost, and now everyone is doing a big like reshuffle because it's keeping everyone interested. Like we see with NRG, they've become basically complacent because they knew their roster basically right after LAN, and they weren't playing all that much in tournaments and stuff, while everyone else was trying to impress their peers. So they were all trying to play extremely well. Mostly probably like as a first place thing was to get on G2. And then after that, it just falls down to like, who can I team up with that would give me the best chance to win? But you think they would want to go with like an established org because they'd probably get salaries and all that stuff. But everyone's trying to impress everyone to get the best possible team. So I think that's really helping them. We'll see if that matters come 4 months from now in June. Still a long ways away. We'll see how these teams do for practice. Like I think everyone just needs to coordinate practice times together and get tons of scrims in throughout the months to just better themselves. Like if you're not playing a certain team for like 2 or 3 weeks, you should be scrimming them like every single day when you can, at least to get that practice in. So we'll see how they do. But I don't think it's as far as like it showed at LAN. Like I think it's a little bit closer than that. Why are there not painted rocket trails? From Coley. I guess because it's like probably a little bit harder to like change all the colors inside a rocket trail. It's not just one main color. You have to change a lot inside it. So I think it just doesn't work as well. So they wanted to keep them all separate. That's my opinion. And I think that is about it. Oh, Daniel here. In doubles, is it best to go from high flying, risky aerials, or sit in the goal? I mean, that's all circumstance. Like it depends on the play. Like I see a lot of times in doubles, when there's a high ball right above the opponent's net, it's usually not a good idea to go for it. Let them use all their boost to try and defend it, and then clean up on the rebounds, or keep the pressure on the rebounds afterwards. It's not the best idea to go for the weird aerials, but of course, like if the ball comes out to you, then you should take that aerial shot because you want to try and beat that goalie. And then the last question from Nikita. How was your day? My day's pretty good. I'm a little worried. We're having about 10 inches of snow tomorrow. It was about 60 degrees today. So that was nice. So I went to the park. But tomorrow, going to be a lot of snow shoveling. We have a snow plow, I think it's called. I can't remember the name. Something like that. But it's a pain in the ass to start. It came from my in-laws, and like it's a pain in the ass to start. I am terrible at trying to start it, so I'm gonna have to try and start that tomorrow morning when there's tons of snow coming down. So I'm not looking forward to that, but my wife will be home at least, so that's nice. She'll be working from home, so we should have a good day there at least, so that's always good. But yeah, my day's going pretty well. I hope all of you guys are having a great day. I'm gonna have to add a lot more Gibblet content. I can see that now because we're running about 20 minutes. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, guys. Later.